Hello everyone, time for another game collection update. Let's start off with the game that you're currently seeing on screen. It's a sequel to a game that I have on my N64. This is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 for the Game Boy Advance. It's a really fun game. Compared to my experiences with the first game, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, that I had on my N64, I'd much rather play this. Mostly because the controls feel like a lot better. Maybe Pro Skater 1 feels a lot better on like the original PlayStation, stuff like that. I just don't like the controls for it on the N64. It just feels really, really awkward. Well, especially since I grew up playing, the Underground games and American Wasteland and all that. I didn't really get into the Pro Skater games when I was younger. But yeah. Hey, this game's fun, it's got career mode, it's just like the first Pro Skater, except it's got new levels, new things for you to do, and just, there's so much different stuff you can do in this game. So yeah, I mean, I definitely would rather play this than, the original Pro Skater. You can still do just as many tricks on it. Yeah, there's less buttons on the Game Boy Advance. But, you know what, and I do think it's a great port from, a console version to a handheld. It's really just a really good port. So, yeah, that's really all I've got to say about it. It's a fun game, and if you enjoy the Tony Hawk games, I recommend playing this. Yeah, I haven't played a console version of it yet. Well, I did when I was younger, I think. I may have, I'm not sure. Because some of these levels, especially the first one with the helicopter, looked familiar to me. So I may have played it, or maybe think of a different game. Whatever. So yeah, on to the next game. This is another game that's alright at best. I can't really complain though. I got it for free along with, like, 3 other games. Along with Tony Hawk and the next 2 games that you'll see here, I got for free, along with, a bunch of other games, because my nephew recently moved out of his house up here. Now he's down in Florida, and found a bunch of DS games and Game Boy Advance games he didn't want and gave them to me, so what the hell? I'll take this. The game you're seeing right now is a combination of 3 board games. Candyland, Chutes and Ladders, and Memory Game. All 3 of which are kind of boring, especially when you've played the PC versions of these that came out in like the, I don't know, early 2000s, maybe even 90s, I don't know. But I remember that there were these computer games. There's computer games of Candyland and Chutes and Ladders. There was probably one of the memory games. I don't remember what it was. Or at least I never played it. But I remember the Candyland one, you did all these fun mini games and stuff. It had these, it had all these wacky characters and stuff. And Chutes and Ladders had all these wacky animations for, going up a ladder or going down a chute. This game lacks that. This game just lacks the wackiness and the craziness from enjoying these. It's basically like, I want to pop this in because I'm too lazy to get out the board game, or I don't have the board game, but I feel like playing a board game on my Game Boy Advance, or DS, or GameCube, whatever can play these things. But why? I don't know. My copy doesn't really work that well. But it's kind of fun, but it could have been done a lot better considering it's a video game, not just a board game. Whatever. It may have been really low budget or something, who knows. Whatever. On to the next game, which is this is another game that for the Game Boy Advance. This one, a lot of people I've met that I've told about this game don't believe that this is a legit game. Like, I've caught people off guard saying there is a legit Mighty Beans game. Now, for those of you who don't remember about Mighty Beans, or fuck, I've probably got some viewers that probably don't even know what the fuck a Mighty Bean is. Never have known. Mighty Beans were basically, I guess you can kind of say they were like Slinkies, except they were beans. And you didn't have to just push them downstairs, they would topple around on anything, basically. You know, tables and stuff. You just flip them around. That's, as far as I know, that's all you did with them, was just toss them around and shit. You know, they roll around. That's all I can remember that a Mighty Bean did. You know, they were just little beans that you could throw, you know, topple around and shit. But in this game, Mighty Beans Pocket Puzzles for the Game Boy Advance, it's basically your average puzzle game where you have to match the top half with the bottom half. Now, this game would be extremely challenging if you weren't, if for not one thing, they tell you how the Mighty Bean is supposed to look in the corner. So, you know, I can understand that for people that are just getting into this, you know, don't know what a Mighty Bean looks like and all that. You know, some of these I actually got confused about if I didn't look at that corner. Because so many pieces just look like they fit together. I actually would have liked a harder difficulty where that was disabled. You know, where that wasn't there. That would have been a lot better. But whatever. It's just weird that there is a Mighty Beans game. It just kind of proves they'll make a game off anything that gets popular. I mean, a Mighty Beans game. Whatever. You know, it's a decently fun game, you know, I popped it in every now and again, but, you know, it's just a puzzle game where you just match Mighty Beans, you know, and each level you progress, it does get harder and harder, you know, to try and match them, you know, whether it's like, you know, everything's moving a bit faster, or, you know, you don't have enough time, or there's too much shit you gotta move around. Whatever. It is still a good game, though. I enjoyed it, you know, as much as I can enjoy a puzzle game. You know, not as good as the later puzzle games, but for the times this game most likely came out, I hope this isn't like a really late Game Boy Advance game where, like, you know, one of those where like half of the DS's library was probably already out by then. Oh god. If it is, then I feel bad. But if this is like an early Game Boy Advance game, or even a mid-Game Boy Advance game, you know, mid-life of the Game Boy Advance, you know, it's alright. You know, you know, you shouldn't really expect much. I mean, what do you have to work with Mighty Beans? Look at what they had to work with. All they had was a bean to work with. And they made a puzzle game. Whatever. You know, I mean, it's not my favorite puzzle game, but for the Game Boy Advance, it's pretty good. So yeah, on to the next game. Now, this is a game that I've been wanting to talk about for a while, since I got it, actually. Because it's a lot of fun. This is Astro Boy Omega Factor for the Game Boy Advance. This is the last of the games, well, last of the Game Boy Advance games I got from my nephew when he moved out. And this is just flat out amazing. Like, I can't even describe how good it is. You know, I didn't grow up watching the Astro Boy anime, I guess is what it was. Maybe, I think it was an anime. I think I've watched that Astro Boy CG movie like once. Maybe. But this game is a ton of fun. You know, you play as Astro Boy, obviously, and, you know, there's some plot that I completely forgot about. Because I don't really give a shit. I care about going in and blowing shit up. You know, I care about going in and just killing everything. And in this game, every time you do a mission or help somebody out, it levels you up. So it has this kind of weird way of dealing with the leveling system, but it's actually really unique. Instead of you just grinding for experience, you have to do missions, and after you're done with the mission, you level up. And when you level up, you can choose what you want to have go up by by 1 point, obviously. They don't want to make you like the best fucking robot at the beginning of the game, because then the rest of the game be boring as hell. Oh, and you do actually have to think about what you're leveling up, because if you choose the wrong thing, you may be screwed unless you're really good at the game. Or maybe I just suck and I'm just saying, and I'm talking out of my ass. But either way, this is a really fun game. I'd highly recommend it to anyone that loves these kind of games, these kind of action beat 'em up games. You know, and you want a portable version of it, man, just going on, just going on a car ride, riding the bus, riding the train, whatever you're doing. Pop this baby in and you'll just be sitting there beating the shit, firing lasers out of your ass. I mean, come on, you fire lasers. You either fire lasers, or you fire rockets, or you fire something out of your ass in this game. What else is there to say? Oh, you fire a gun out of your ass. Any game that has an ass gun, how is that a bad game? I mean, I know that's a big thing with Astro Boy. I know that's one of his powers. It's probably in like every game, but come on, an ass gun? Oh god, that's just the silliest thing. But it's a really fun game, and it's really fucking difficult too. Well, on the harder difficulties, it's difficult. You can start off easy, but once you get to difficult, once you set to difficult, it's not like, oh, this would be difficult for a little kid. No, this thing, the difficulty gets pumped up. To the point where I mean, I could barely even get far in this game on the harder difficulties, but it's still just a lot of fun. I love the living hell out of this game. This is one of my favorite Game Boy Advance games now. I mean, oh god, it is just so amazing. Definitely pick this up if you ever get the chance to. If you ever see Astro Boy Omega Factor anywhere, in any store, anytime you can choose to get a game online, pick this up if you have some way to play it, because it is phenomenal. Oh god, please go by my word, this is an amazing game. Alright, now it's time for some DS games, and some of these are games that I've had for a really long time, just never bothered to put them in. And this first one that's up is Fossil Fighters. As far as I know, there's about like 3 games in the Fossil Fighters series, all of which are for the DS. For those of you who don't know how these games play, basically what you have to do is you have to go out, and when you go out to these dig sites, you get the chance to dig up fossils. And when you bring the fossil back, you can dig up, I think, I don't know how many fossils you can carry at one time. Maybe as many. I don't think it's as many as you want. But whatever. You bring them back, and then you have to do these mini games and stuff to recreate the dinosaur. But once you have to have all the bones pieces. You won't find all pieces of the dinosaur at that one spot. Like, you won't find all pieces to the Tyrannosaurus Rex at that one spot. You have to go and find all these other pieces. And yeah, you fight with dinosaurs. And when you get into battle, you can have up to 3 dinosaurs in a battle. And each dinosaur, the dinosaurs work fairly well, depending on where you have them at. The fighting mechanic does work, and it's actually pretty fun, actually. The story actually is probably... The story gets really good towards the end of the game. I mean, it's not terrible at the beginning. It's still pretty good at the beginning, but toward the closer you get to, like, probably the midpoint or the end of the game, is where the story just gets amazing. I mean, and the ending to this game is so good. I love the ending to this game. It really made me want to go and pick up the other Fossil Fighters games to see if they were anything like this. Hopefully they are, because maybe one day I'll get them and you'll see them in a game collection update. Who knows? But yeah. So the gameplay is good. The story's good. I think this game is really good. Especially the concept of it. It's not just go out, find a dinosaur, and bring it back, and then you can automatically train it and shit like that, and make it ultra powerful. No, you create your dinosaur, and depending on how well you did at creating the dinosaur, decides if it's going to be really powerful, or if it's just going to be a garbage dinosaur that you'd probably never use. Like, if you